a lot to me when I was given that opportunity. So I can honestly say I may not be in the position I am without the support of Patty Rocky. So thank you so much, Patty. Things are also looking up for Williams County. The man from Montpelier is the United States Senator for the state of Ohio.
So if we run behind, it's Rob.
Columbus, like you go and say,
if we run behind, it's Rob.
From Dayton, I'm like, oh no, he's from Williams County, everybody. And don't
Because
you
I was
forget
off
it.
at 7.
You remain.
Celebrate the national champion Ohio State Buckeyes with President Trump. It was great to be there with a ton of other good Buckeyes, a lot of conservatives there. But things are going well in the state as well. You know, we've been able, through solid conservative leadership, to really make a lot of incremental change in this state, to really turn around the trajectory of our state over the last decade or so. To make a lot of tough decisions. When I joined the legislature, we were sitting at 7 income tax brackets. The highest was 7.5%. We're now down to 2 income tax brackets. The highest is 3.5%. Lowest is 2.75%. We intend to stay on that march to flatten out our income tax and keep that incremental change coming. We also have turned around and leveraged one of the most competitive advantages we have in the state in our energy that we have right beneath our own feet. After 4 years of Biden administration trying to take away one of the greatest things we had going for the state of Ohio, the natural gas supply that we have right underneath our own soil, the state of Ohio is leaning into it. And we're telling everybody, come to Ohio and build your energy generation plants. Come to Ohio and build your manufacturing facilities. Come to Ohio where you'll do better than anywhere else in the Midwest. But I have to tell you, those of us who are in this position don't just want to be the best in the Midwest. Yes, it's a great step. It's a great improvement from where we may have been. But it is not where we need to be. Getting to that next step is going to require an awful lot of bold leadership. It's going to require an awful lot of unapologetic conservatism. It's going to require somebody who has the vision and somebody who has the conviction to make sure that we can get to become the best state in the nation. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an opportunity in front of us to elect somebody as governor who is going to be able to take us to that next step, who's going to be able to take us to that mountaintop, who is going to have that unapologetic conservatism, and who's going to be bought in not just for the near term, for the next 4 years, but for the next several decades. And that person, ladies and gentlemen, is Vivek Ramaswamy. He was nice enough to welcome me into his own home, and we were sitting there at his dining room table on a weekend night, or excuse me, a weeknight, and we were talking about a whole variety of things, a whole lot of policy, what makes Ohio tick, importantly, what matters to Northwest Ohio as well. He wants to be able to serve the state with distinction and with honor. He wants to earn the vote of every single person in this room. But one moment struck me, where for me it clicked, that he and I have the same reason for being vested in our shared future. You see, he's a young father too. I have a 10-year-old daughter, 7-year-old twin boys at home, and actually my wife and I were talking on our way up here. I think there was a dinner you had where my wife was about 2 weeks from delivering our twins, and I had to say, look, if I have to run off stage, please wish us safe passage to the house. But as we were sitting there at that dinner, and I would imagine Vivek had been on the road an awful lot during that week, his 5-year-old son, he's got a 5-year-old son and a 2-year-old son, his 5-year-old son kept coming into the room to try and show his dad what he'd been working on, to try and tell his dad how his day had gone, try and interact with his dad. And Vivek did what many of us would do during these meetings and encouraged his son and then asked him to go back into the other room And then eventually his son came back in, and then Vivek just simply sat him on his lap as we continued the meeting. But I can tell you, I was there for all of it. Because it was at that moment that I went and I realized, we're not trying to do this for the next 8 years. We're trying to do this to make sure that my kids and his kids and all of our children and grandchildren can grow up and make life in Ohio. That's what we're after. That's what we're after. He's vested. Failure is not an option. And the beautiful news that I have to share with you tonight is that most people in the state of Ohio also realize he's vested and failure is not an option. He's going to become an excellent governor. Actually, some of you may have seen the news that came out this week, a poll in our governor's race. The Ramaswamy campaign is out to a commanding 60-point lead right now.
You're going to make my job so much easier.
This is also reflected in the endorsements that he's received. As far as I can remember, and I know my colleague, Senator Christina Roker, is here as well. As far as I can remember, this early in the campaign, no candidate has had the majority of both chambers endorse them to be governors this far out from the primary election. It's a testament to the strength of Vivek Ramaswamy. It's a testament that he is going to be the governor, not just for Ohio, but for this moment in time for Ohio. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the next governor of the state of Ohio, my friend Vivek Ramaswamy.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. We'll be doing this for a long time together. I hope so. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. And give that man a round of applause, Senate President Rob McCauley. He's got a bright future ahead of him. Robbie, at the age, what are you, 40 years old? At the age of 40, he's already served in the highest levels of our state as our Senate President, but I predict, like Ohio and like our country, your best days are still ahead too, my friend. So thank you for that warm introduction. And I want to welcome not only our Ohioans, but we met many of you beforehand. John and I were coming to each other. We have a lot of neighbors from Indiana and Michigan that came over too. So welcome to the neighborhood, guys. Thank you. I actually spent a lot of time in Northwest Ohio growing up because I was born and raised in Cincinnati, but every year we had a big extended family in the Midwest. Fort Wayne, Indiana was the place where we would actually make our journey. And I used to ask my dad, why did you move all the way around the world from India to Southwest Ohio, to Cincinnati? And he said it was to be near his sister who lived in Fort Wayne. So we would go there for Thanksgiving one year. I asked her, why did you move halfway around the world to Fort Wayne, Indiana? And the best reason I ever got was it is the only U.S. state with the word India contained in the name of the state. So who knows if it's true, but anyway. It's great to be here. And what I do want to talk about tonight is the reason my parents came here 45 years ago with no money. It was to pursue what we want for all of our children, to pursue the American dream, something we don't talk about anymore, but which we are going to revive in our own home state of Ohio. I'm in this because of gratitude, actually. I had a successful business career, a great family. We are pursuing this because we want to pass on that American dream to our kids and to their generation before we forget what it was all about. I founded successful companies. My wife, Apurva, is a throat surgeon at the James at the Cancer Hospital at Ohio State. And the reason we're in this is we want to make sure that our kids can go on to live the same American dream that so many of us in this room did. And for the last 4 years, let's be really honest about this, we went through a national identity crisis in this country. We lost our way. In the Biden years, faith in God, family, patriotism, hard work disappeared in so much of our country, especially our young people. 16% of Gen Z said they were proud to be American under Biden. Less than 25% of them, less than a 25% recruitment deficit in our U.S. military in the Biden years. It was a crisis of confidence in the United States of America. And in November, we ended up getting it right for this country by sending Donald J. Trump back to the White House as our 47th president. I want to thank all of you for your effort in making sure we got it right as a country. And now we are on the cusp of a new renaissance, a new golden age in America, a revival of conviction in our country, a revival of conviction in what it means to be a citizen of this nation, a revival of meritocracy, the pursuit of excellence and hard work, of free speech and open debate, even for the protesters who are outside. And by the way, I'm noticing a trend. You know, we used to be a state, the state I grew up into, where we could disagree vehemently and still get together at the dinner table at the end of it. One of the things I've tried to do is every time we've had these protesters outside, and this is probably easily our 10th plus Lincoln Day dinner, we've had protesters at a number of these. So every time I've gone out and tried to talk to them, at least if the weather was good, if it wasn't rainy, that was my rule, we'll go out and talk to them. And over the course of this, something funny has happened is the more we've gone out to talk to them, the fewer we've actually had bothering to show up. So we're down to 2 tonight. Maybe they're in here. I invited them in. They said they could be our guests tonight. I don't know if they accepted the invitation, but if they are, I graciously welcome it, because that's our country. We believe in free speech and open debate. But the truth is, saving the country isn't just going to be a job for Washington, D.C. It isn't just a one-man job. Donald Trump is doing his part in reviving our conviction in America. But I'm in this for Ohio because I want to revive our conviction in the state of Ohio. The golden age for America, thanks to the work of great senators like John Husted. The golden age for America is them sending back from D.C. back to the states and to the people education policy, healthcare policy. Just as our founding fathers envisioned it, it will be a golden age for federalism in America. That's what's coming in the next several years. And we here in Ohio have an opportunity to lead the way, not follow Florida and Texas now. I love those states, but we're done following them. We're ready to lead the way for the country. And I want to tell you, we're a great state. I told some of you this beforehand. Ohio is a great state, thanks to the efforts of so many of the leaders of this state who are in this room tonight. Frank LaRose, you've been a great Secretary of State, securing our elections. John, before being a senator, as a lieutenant governor, the economic development you brought to so much of our state. Rob McCauley, great Senate president. Christina Rogner, soon to be a great state treasurer, but one of our stars in the state legislature. Josh Williams, where are you, man? I saw you earlier today. State representative, you're doing great on the House side. Thanks to the work of these individuals, give them a round of applause. They deserve it. Thanks to their work, we are one of the best states in the Midwest. We're certainly not California, all right? The communist republic where they need to do a U-turn. And we're working on, I've got a guy who I'm trying to convince to run for governor of California, and I told him his job is a lot harder than mine here in Ohio. It's to the great foundation that's been laid before us that we're able to build on that foundation to now go further. To say we're not just going to be one of the best in the Midwest. We're already that. We're going to lead Ohio to be the top state in the country to give your kids a world-class education, to raise a family, to generate wealth and to keep that wealth by embracing capitalism and meritocracy instead of apologizing for it. The state where we lead the country in the sectors of the future, from aerospace to semiconductors to AI, the state where we give our kids the conviction that they're able to achieve the maximum of their God-given potential. The state where patriots across this country now flock back to, not just Texas and Florida, but to Ohio. Often the children and the grandchildren who have left this state to come back and be close to the roots of the place where they were raised. That's what I want to do for our state. And we're going to get started. We're going to move as quickly as we can, just like President Trump is. I want to lead Ohio to be the state of excellence in the United States of America. There are those who say, and I want to address this up front, there are those who say that's too ambitious. We can't do that in Ohio. How could Ohio, sitting here in the middle of the Midwest, in the heartland, we don't have a coast. Actually, I remind people we do have a coast, okay? But with real winters, well, you know what? I like 4 seasons. It's real. It has texture. But they say, how could Ohio be that state in America? That would remind you that it wasn't long ago that Ohio was the state of excellence in America. Okay, we were the state that led the first industrial revolution. You got a lot of young people today on the internet, they got a meme for the last few years when something's out of touch or a little bit old. What do they say? Their meme is "only in Ohio." And that irritates me. Because it wasn't long ago that people weren't making fun of Ohio. They were aspiring to be Ohio. We were the economic powerhouse at the heart of a nation during the Industrial Revolution. Fertile farmland, the same fertile farmland we have today. Great natural resources underneath our ground. Even in the 1950s, if you think about it, that's not that long ago. Even in the 1950s, 6 of the top 15 wealthiest cities in America were right here in Ohio, including not far from where we are right now. Toledo was the glass capital of the world. Further east, Akron was the rubber capital of the world. Youngstown and Cleveland, where I was earlier this week, the steel capital of the West. Dayton, where John Husted is from, the computing power engine that powered the entire first industrial revolution. My hometown is Cincinnati, known around the world as the Queen City. Porkopolis, providing the food supply chain for the country, a consumer products capital for the United States of America. We were the pioneers, the explorers, the unafraid, the people who no government or bureaucracy would dare stop from achieving our potential. And when you're the economic leader of the country, as we were, that cultivates a self-confidence in our kids. Sons and daughters of Ohio, sons like Neil Armstrong, who became the first man to walk on the moon, John Glenn, the first American to go into orbit. Think about even the Wright brothers in Dayton, Ohio, taking flight at a moment where that was deemed to be impossible. Think about the self-confidence you have to have as a kid to achieve the impossible when you're told that you can't do it. That was what Ohio produced. We were the state of excellence in America, and we can be that state again because if you think about it, we have all of the same God-given gifts we had the first time around. The same fertile farmland, including some of the best in the country and in the world right here in Northwest Ohio. The same natural resources underneath our ground. In fact, they're more valuable now because it's not only oil, it's natural gas that we know is valuable now too. We have it right under our ground right here in Ohio. Same water underneath our ground. In fact, in the northwest part of our state, we often forget about that. The same hardworking population, the same great geographic location at the heart of a country, same Erie Canal to New York City, Ohio River to the Mississippi. 60% of North America's population, think about that, not just America's population, 60% of North America's population within a single day's drive of where we're having dinner right now. God has blessed our state with every gift we could possibly wish for to be the state that leads America back into our golden age. All we have to do is to believe in ourselves to actually do it. And I'll tell you, I believe deep in my bones that in the second industrial revolution we're in right now, it will be Ohio that leads the way. If it was Silicon Valley for the last 10 years, it's the Ohio Valley for the next 10 years. Done with the Rust Belt. We're moving to the Platinum Belt. And it may not be all, I'll be honest with you, it may not be every one of the same sectors as last time around. It may not be rubber production next time. But it's going to be the sectors of the future. From semiconductor production to nuclear energy to our defense industrial base, biotech to Bitcoin, the state where we use AI not to take jobs, but to make jobs through workforce training and education and teaching our kids how to use it rather than to be replaced by it. This is where I want to lead our state. This is our modern-day Northwest Ordinance right here in the state of Ohio once again. A state that a group of Baptists came to, moved to secure religious freedom and free expression even before we had a constitution. That's us. This is our modern-day Northwest Ordinance right now. We are a conservative state, and we deserve to be governed like one. That's not going to lose us elections. That will win us elections because it's going to put more money in your pocket, because it's going to lift up more people from poverty, and because it's going to revive that self-confidence in our kids, in our next generation. How old are you, young man? 16-year-old right here. What's your name? Jackson? It's a good name. 16-year-old Lincoln Day dinner. I like that. Bringing down our average aging a little bit at these dinners. I like that. Thank you. We're doing it for Jackson's generation. And I do think, and I'm biased on this, but I think there's a time and place for different kinds of leaders. But now is a moment for a leader from that next generation to lead Ohio, to build on the great foundation that's been laid, but to lead us to our future. Now, to be competitive, we got to address some challenges. If you care about somebody, you tell them the truth, okay? If you care about yourself, you tell them what they want to hear. I'm going to give you the truth. Here's one of the real challenges we're going to face as a state unless we address it. We have a declining population right now. We've got more people moving out of our state than moving in. And if you look at who's moving out, it's actually people in Jackson's generation. It's younger, college-educated people who are leaving, and other people who are on government aid who tend to be moving in. That doesn't work for our state in the long run. I want to make Ohio a state where not only the people who grow up here stay here, but a state where young families move to as a magnet to live the American dream. And to that end, one of the things I want to accomplish as your next governor is to make sure that we lead Ohio to become a zero income tax state, because it is your money and you deserve to keep what you earn. It is your money, not the government's. And it's not just the income taxes. Think about the landowners, including in this part of the state. Our property taxes in this state have gotten way too high, unjustly high. It is wrong. It is unjust. I think it is immoral. If you're paying as much on your property tax bill as you are in the principal and interest payments on your mortgage, because it starts to feel like the land that you own is really just a lease from the government, and that is un-American. It is antithetical to our values in Ohio. We will put a ceiling on the property tax rate able to be charged in this state. We're going to take a hatchet to red tape and over-regulation in this state. For every new regulation they try to add on my watch, we will require that we at least rescind 10 others even before we consider it. Get the red tape out of the way so we can build in this state. Build more houses. Build more manufacturing plants. Build more small businesses that grow up to be big businesses. Build wealth, build a family, build a life in the mold of the American dream. The state of manufacturing dominance, energy dominance, AI dominance. The state where we're leading not just in our GDP numbers, but we're leading a revival of our way of life. So we're no longer a state where little league teams have to shut down because they can't find a company to sponsor them. Where a mother doesn't have to think twice before having a second or third or fourth kid for fear of the cost of a new stroller or buying a bigger car. I met Heather. She was the lead bartender tonight. I don't know where she is, but she was a woman who just spoke to briefly on her way up here. She's a widow raising not only kids but grandkids. We want to be a state where mothers are able to say, I want that second, third, fourth kid. But we have to be a state where they believe their kids are going to go on to live a better life than they did. And in order to do that, here's the other thing we need to do. This isn't Ohio's problem. What I'm about to talk about, it is America's problem. And Ohio has an opportunity to lead the way in addressing our educational achievement crisis in our country. And it is a crisis. It is a crisis. Right now, the hard fact is 75% of 8th graders are not proficient in math, according to their grade level. The average student in China is a full 4 years ahead of the average student here in the United States. That's unacceptable to me. I refuse to just stand by and watch as a 7th grader here is performing at the equivalent of a 3rd grade student in China. That doesn't work for us. I speak for every parent in this room when I say we refuse to stand by and watch as China laughs at our gradual decay into oblivion. No, we're going to turn this ship around. We're going to turn this ship around in Ohio. We will lead Ohio to be the top state in the country and in the world, to give our kids a world-class education in the foundational subjects of math, reading, writing, civic education, financial literacy, physical education, starting at a young age. And yes, that includes, thank you, school choice programs that we will take to the next level, because every parent deserves to choose where they send their kids to school. But I'll also give you the truth. I've traveled this state. We said we're going to make all 88 counties this year. We're already at like 44 of them, I think. 46 maybe today. The truth is there are many parts of this state where there are no choices, which means that our only choice is to make sure that our public schools are also equipped to compete with the best of our alternatives. Okay, the truth of the matter is, If you believe this is an educational achievement crisis, as I do, that means our public school teachers are really like our first responders on the front line there. I actually met a first responder. Was it Dylan? Yeah, Dylan's a police officer. Stand up, Dylan. Let's give this man and all law enforcement in the room a round of applause. I thank Dylan for being a first responder. But I'm going to ask Dylan's wife to stand up too, because she's also a first responder. She's a public school teacher who we were talking to beforehand. There's so much to learn from both of you. We want to be a state where a public school teacher can actually live the American dream. And on a starting salary of $40,000 a year, they can't do it right now. I want us to be a state where we're leading the way in compensating our public school teachers better, tied to performance. So the best ones, but I said the best ones, are able to make a lot more money than they do now. It's not just teaching to the test. It's peer assessments in the schools. Who's working together as part of the team? Who's carrying their weight? Parental assessments. Most parents do know whether their kids are thriving or not in the classroom. You think about even the performance of a student in a poorer school district. You can't compare apples and oranges to a wealthier one, but within that classroom, is that kid improving or not? That's what I want to create. I want Ohio to be a magnet for the best educators across the country so they too can live the American dream, because that's what we owe our kids. Not just in math and reading and writing, but also in physical education. We're going to put PE as early as kindergarten. We're going to actually make sure we bring back the presidential fitness test in the state of Ohio. Frankly, I don't know why we got rid of it in the first place, right? The best way to save on health costs in the long run is to have that healthier population in the first place. And it's not just physical health. It's mental health too, which we've ignored for too long in this country. The crisis of depression, anxiety, fentanyl, suicide, opioid addiction. Time for it to end by restoring that missing sense of purpose and meaning that our young people long for. Individual, family, nation, and God beats race, gender, sexuality, and climate. If we have the courage to stand for what is right, what is true, what is good, get the cell phones out of the classroom, stop baiting our kids into ADD and the cycle of Ritalin treatment, when we got to actually go back to the basics of fulfilling their hunger for meaning. Replace woke indoctrination and victimhood psychology with actual civics lessons, actual U.S. history lessons, actual civic pride that teaches our kids, our young people, and their generation not to be ashamed of our state and our country, but to be proud of it. Say as we did every morning. And you know what? I love the way that he did it today. Just didn't go through the rote words. He explained what it stood for, as Frank LaRose did tonight. If we can do it tonight, we can do it every morning before our kids start their day of school. Say the pledge every morning with a moment of silence to go along with it, to remember the why, to hold ourselves to a higher standard where every high school senior who graduates from an Ohio public high school on my watch will have to pass the same civics test that every legal immigrant has to pass in order to become a naturalized citizen. You got to know the same thing to graduate from high school. You got to know something about your country to love your country, to pledge allegiance to your country. And once we lay that foundation in K through 12 education, that lays the basis for then taking higher education to the next level in Ohio. Now, I want to be clear about this. I want Ohio to have the best universities in the country. Four-year college degree was my path to the American dream. I went to Harvard for college. I went to Yale for law school. That's where my wife went for medical school. She lived the American dream. That was her path to the American dream, and we're proud of that. But I recognize that my path cannot be and must not be the only path available either. I also want our state to be the state where every young man and woman who wants to become an electrician or a carpenter or a welder or a mechanic or a machine operator also has that same path to the American dream without being burdened with four-year college debt, with earn-while-you-learn programs integrated as early as high school. And where's Tyler? I met Tyler earlier tonight. Tyler, you here? Oh, I got a couple Tylers. This young man, how old are you, Tyler? 19. 19, you want to stand up? Appreciate you. Tyler, good to see you too, man. This other Tyler, you're the older Tyler. You stand up now. How old are you, man? You're 27? What's that? 26. So Tyler's a welder. I asked him, how does a welder do? He says about $70,000 a year in starting salary if you're straight out. You don't even have to go through college, and there's no college debt. The problem is, I don't call, Tyler, I hope you're okay with this. I want to tell you this. I don't call these professions the trades anymore. I call them professions because that is what they are, deserving the same degree of dignity and respect as somebody who goes on to become a doctor or an investment banker or a lawyer. It's not that one is more or less elite than the other. They're all elite. Tyler is elite too. And we should be proud of that because this is the state of Ohio where every path is open to every child. That's what the true American dream is about. That's what a true meritocracy is about. It's a system that recognizes that every one of us, every one of you, every one of your kids has your own unique God-given gift, distinct from every other person in the world, actually. And that we are the nation and we are the state where you get to achieve the maximum of your own God-given potential without any government or bureaucracy standing in your way. That is what made America great the first time. That is how we will make Ohio great again for our kids who celebrate success instead of apologizing for it, who don't look to somebody else's success through capitalism and are envious of it because they're participating in it with real skin in the game for themselves. That's my message to my two sons tonight and to your kids tonight, is that this is the state where the American dream is your birthright, where success is your birthright, where a world-class education is your birthright. Freedom is our heritage in this state, and if we embrace that, excellence will be our destiny. This isn't a humble vision for our state, I will admit that. Okay. It's not a humble vision. It is an ambitious vision, because I believe that is who we really are as Ohioans and as Americans. We're not victims, we're victors. We don't whine, we win. That is who we are. When we rallied behind the cry to make America great again, that is what we hungered for, the unapologetic pursuit of excellence in Ohio. And I will fight every day to make sure we keep that American dream alive. I will fight every day for this state. We will visit every county, not just during the campaign, but every one of the 8 years that I serve as your next governor, because we want to listen to you. We want to hear you. We want to work with you to lead our state forward. I'm grateful to the Republicans in this room, constitutional conservatives like many of us, right, who are up here who we've heard from already. That's great, but I want to reach the people who aren't in this room. I want us to reach the people who aren't in this room too. Anybody who's politically homeless in this state, okay? Anybody who's an independent, a libertarian, an orphaned Reagan Democrat for that matter. Anybody who's orphaned in this state. If you don't agree with us on everything, but if you want educational excellence and economic excellence for your kids, if you want your kids to have the same shot at the American dream that this state gave to me and to my family, then we are on the same team. We will have a seat for you at the table in this movement, and we will work with you to lead Ohio to the next level. We don't have to be a state in decline. We don't have to be a nation in decline. I believe we are still a state on our way up, a state still in our ascent, on our way to that shining city on a hill, where Ohio is the beacon of light at its apex, a state where we will look our kids in the eye and mean it when we tell them that you get ahead in the United States of America and in the state of Ohio with your own hard work, your own commitment, your own dedication. And that you know what? You are also free to speak your mind at every step of the way. That is the American dream. That is what we are running to. So that 10 years from now, when the next generation is talking about our state, when we're sending manned rockets to Mars, when we're powering our electric grid with nuclear energy, when we're curing previously incurable diseases with cures discovered right here in Ohio, you know what our young people are going to say then? Only in Ohio. Let's make it happen. Thank you, guys. God bless you and your families, and may God bless our United States of America and our great state of Ohio. Fight, 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 and we're going to get the job done. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you. All right, man. Thank you. Good to see you.